Hi, everyone, and welcome to Round 6 of the brand new Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship powered by Sim3D right here on Absolute Sim Racing. After an action-packed fight to the checker last week at America's National Park of Speed, we head north to the Great White North and the Ile de Notre Dame. There may be no Canadian Grand Prix this year, but for 75 minutes, some of the best GT3 drivers around will endeavor to avoid the Wall of Champions here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and with Austin Belke joining me in the commentary box, we'll be bringing you the best in GT3 action from some of the world's most storied circuits this year. So, Austin, it seems like we're throwing our drivers some very different challenges each and every week, and tonight will be the only round that we have in this very first season at a street circuit. And now, granted, it's not your average street circuit like Belle Isle or Long Beach. It's not all short straights, tight corners, concrete canyons, but you still have to respect those walls that are seemingly inches off the pavement.
Yeah, you raised an excellent point, Greg. This might not be a street circuit by all definitions, but it still races like one. There's still tight corners. There's walls on both sides. That's going to be the most challenging thing here, especially those chicanes. You said it, the Wall of Champions. It's so tight to get around here. It basically might as well be a street circuit. It's just not grandfathered in the same way because there's a lot less 90-degree hard angle corners to navigate through here. But it should be a fantastic race. I view this as going to be the race that you can really see who's good at passing the slower classes of cars and who isn't, because passing here is going to be so detrimental to your race.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are so many. There are many corners here that you can absolutely pitch the car into a corner or sneak underneath pre-apex. The hairpin here, turn 10 comes to mind, one of the tightest hairpins in racing. But if you do that, there's always that price that you're going to have to pay, and that price is usually exit speed. That most of the places here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that you may attempt passes, if you get it wrong, if you don't get the power down, if you don't get strong and dig out of a corner, you've usually got a very long straightaway afterwards where you're going to pay the price.
Yeah, tires are going to be another thing you're going to want to pay attention to here, because there's a lot of slow speed corners and a couple high speed corners. So usually the guys are going to have to worry about front tire wear. But here I think it's going to be mostly about managing your rear tires, because those are something where it's a vicious circle. You get them hot once, they wear faster. They wear faster, they get hotter faster. So you're going to need to pay real close attention to how much you get on those. Trying to, like you said, just really start to squeeze the power down coming off corner exit.
Yeah, so that will definitely be the issue here. And so we've got our drivers, they're out on their practice right now before we line up for the grid, getting their last laps in before we go racing. And as we do every week here in the RATC, we don't have a qualifying session per se. What we actually do is we go and grid up by points and actually where you stand in each one of the 3 different categories: our Pro category, our Pro-Am category, and our AM category, and we reverse those grids. So if you're doing well on the season, you're going to be further in the back of the pack with your class. If you're if you haven't done so well in the first couple races, you may find yourself at the front of the grid, and the challenge is always going to be for those drivers that haven't done so well to hold off the drivers that are higher in the standings, and then of course for those drivers that have done well in the previous weeks to then have to find their way to work through the field. So real quick, let's take a look at where we stand now after 5 rounds, and we'll start off with the Pro category, where we have Sean Campbell and his TechSense Fitzy McLaren right now leading the field with 410 points. That is just a 5-point advantage right now over Justin Brunner and his Inex Racing McLaren, who has 405. Then another 15 points back to PJ Sturgios, who has already 2 wins to his name, and he's in the Inex Racing BMW. Then we've got Dave Meneno in his SRT Esport McLaren running 4th, with Sean Ryan in his Energy Storm Racing BMW currently running in 5th. And is still very in the Pro category, very, very tight, all the way back to actually all the way back to 12th place, where we have almost a 5-point spread between each one of the drivers. Really very close. In the Pro-Am category, Dan Tenorio in the Twisted Racing Lamborghini, he's your current points leader with 335 points. He hasn't taken home a win yet, but he has been very consistent and up towards the front of the field. His teammate, Brent Bravata, also in a Twisted Racing Lamborghini, he is 15 points back. Only 5 back from there is Frederic Lavoie in the Alt Racing BMW, and then we've got John Cooper in his Turnburn Moto Lambo, and then Michael Kulaga in his Adventure Motorsports Lambo. They are sitting 4th and 5th respectively, with again just a couple points separating them. And if we take a look at the AM category, we have 2 teammates again up at the top of the standings. We've got Eric Kulaga in his Vulture Motorsport Lamborghini with 405 points. 30 points back from there is Steven Martinez, again in Vulture Motorsports Lamborghini. Then we've got Michael Fowler in his Captain Spoon Audi, and then it seems like almost all Lamborghinis as you run down through the field. We've got Errol Yerksoy in his Emerlex Lambo 4th right now with 345 points, and then we've got Kyle Herlitsky in his Boatman Racing Lambo. So again, very close. We've actually got a 2-car tie right now for 8th. And actually in the Pro-Am category, we've got a 3-car tie for 8th right now as well. So again, very, very close here in the order. And because of the way we invert the field, essentially for the start of each one of these races, it's going to make for some very close, tight racing.
Yeah, I'm really shocked. Even 5 rounds in, the points battles are still as close as they are. You'd figure by now you can really tell who the front runners are and who the people that really aren't competing too heavily for a championship. But you'd be surprised to see just how close all the points battles are up and down the entirety of the leaderboard. All these guys still have stuff to race for. No one's really truly out of it yet, unless they had a couple bad rounds. But honestly, I view anyone in the top 10 of all these 3 classes as definitely still having at least one hand firmly on the championship trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And given the method of handing out points and the opportunity for bonus points, and frankly the opportunity to lose points as well, there is definitely you definitely have the possibility here that. The standings are going to stay very, very tight, probably all the way through our 10th round of the season when we reach the Red Bull Ring in November.
Yeah, one of the things you said too, the possibility to lose points. If you're one of the fast guys in a championship hunt starting at the back, there are so many places it can all go wrong for you as you make the first couple laps because the fields are all bunched together. All the people that maybe might be prone to messing up more often, that's why they're starting up front. Not to say that they're bad or anything, but that's where the mistakes might come from. To someone who isn't as experienced as some of the front running guys starting at the back, if they make a mistake, there's concrete walls on both sides of this track. Super, super easy to be involved in someone else's incident. So you really have to be on your toes.
Indeed, you do. All right, so we've got just a couple moments left here. Actually, I think about a half a minute before we've got our drivers finishing up their test sessions as we're on board right now here with, let's see here, who are we on with? I believe this is John Cooper in the number 18. Oh, actually, Cooper is back in the pit, so I guess Brian Volz.
Yep.
Yeah, in the number 14 machine is who we are on board with. And he is, again, taking his last laps here before we start this show on and get it on the road. So while we've got a couple seconds here before we get the cars to grid up, wanted to mention very quickly about our two title sponsors. Of course, we've got Race Anywhere, who is sponsoring our driver championship, and they exist primarily because so many sim racers have been left disappointed in trying to build up their systems and have been frustrated by their suppliers. They are sim racers, and they know that sim racers deserve just a little bit more than all of that frustration. Race Anywhere, they are founded with one goal: deliver a better customer experience for the sim racing community, offering products from Pro Sim Rig, rig accessories, wheels, pedal sets, and a whole lot more. Race Anywhere, they do ship globally. You can find out more about them at raceanywhere.co.uk. And Austin, they have got a great prize package here for the winner in each one of our categories. Our season winner, they will take home a Pro Sim Rigs PSR1 rig. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful system there, and they've got a number of other prizes that they're giving away to our second and third place finishers in each category as well. So we've got the starting grid all ready to go. Austin, why don't we run down that grid?
For sure. James Pierce is going to line up first in his twisting racing car. Alongside him is Alex Ellis. Third is going to be Kaprowski, followed by Harry Willis, and fourth. Fifth is going to be Sean Ryan, followed by Dave Meneno. PJ Sturgios lines up seventh. Alongside him is Brunner, and then Campbell rounds out your field for pro. Smith is going to, we're going to go to racing as we're getting ready. These guys, not much of a pace lap here at Circuit Gio Villeneuve.
That's right. We've got a very short pace lap here as we get things back underway. And let's take a look here as they come down now. The pace car is off as the drivers come through that last chicane, turns 13 and 14. And as they now make their way down the straight, we're going to be in that start zone where the pole sitter can get on the gas at any time he likes. And you can see now our pole sitter, James Pierce, he gets underway with Alex Ellis, Ryan Kaprowski getting in line just behind. Then we've got Sean Ryan, Harry Wills, and PJ Sturgios sitting a little bit further back. Side by side is Dave Meneno and Sean Ryan as they make it through, and we should be able to make our way back now for the start of our second group. And now coming to the line here, we've got Joseph Smith, Blake Scott side by side. Then we've got Andrew Hewson, Wilson Brewer, and they are underway now going through the first chicane and starting to make their way through. And as they go through the Senna S's here and come out on track, let's see, we have Smith, Scott, Hewson, Tyler Campbell moves his way up into fourth position, drop Wilson Brewer back to fifth. Andrew Rasmussen gets around James Costa in the Mercedes. We've got the two Audis nose to tail as they now start to make their way up towards turn number 5. Let's go to that third start now and see where we are.
Jason Bridges going to bring the field to green. They've already gone into turns 1 and 2, coming out of those now. Oh, someone's spinning out there. I'm not sure who that is, but definitely a Mercedes, black Mercedes.
Yeah, let's see if we can pick up who that Mercedes is as they come through. And yeah, that was, I believe that was Brent Bravada.
Oh, another wreck.
Yeah, we've got Mark Scott now in his Lamborghini dropping through the order. So a couple melees there right at the start of our Pro-Am category race here as we now jump back on board. This is now up at the I believe the front. This is the Pro-Am category with Joseph Smith starting to walk away from the rest of that Pro-Am field with Blake Scott, Andrew Hewson in the 40, leading a second pack. And now side by side, we've got Tyler Campbell in his Porsche, and then we've got the Audi of Wilson Brewer as they now go into the final chicane. Miss the wall of champions. They'll have about 73 minutes to try it again. And as they now make their way down starting lap number 2.
Really tight racing there between Brewer and Rasmussen there going down the front stretch. Almost got a little bit argy-bargy, but that's how close these guys race. There's a lot of trust here. These guys race really, really close and really, really clean. So you can tell they're really having a lot of fun out there.
All right, let's take a look. We've got a replay here now. Sean Ryan in the number 9 machine. And he is overtaking his Ryan Kaprowski there, going into coming out of the chicane and starting to make their way down through turn 5 and into turn 6.
Going to pick up this battle here for third in class with Andrew Rasmussen and his Audi. He's still trying to fend that overtake he made on Wilson Brewer there. These guys are still racing really close to each other, not giving an inch away. I really think here Brewer's going to try to make a pass down the backstretch going into the chicane of champions.
All right, let's take a look now as we are on board right now with the 67. That was Mark Scott. I think that's the battle that we saw a little bit earlier as Mark Scott puts his car around, and we had another driver right beside him that went off as well. And I think that was Brian Volz in the BMW. As we jump back up now to the action, we're on board right now with the number 20 machine. That is the McLaren of Daniel Floria. And and
big accident here. Looks like Campbell, Brewer. I'm not sure who that might be. Another McLaren behind them.
And that was
Kaprowski
in the Audi, the number 61 machine. There, so bad luck there for Sean Campbell, Kaprowski, and Brunner with the couple McLarens there. All right, let's see, and we're going to go back and try and pick up and see exactly what happened there in our pro category. Let's take a look. All right, actually, let's jump quickly. This is the battle for the lead in the AM category. We've got Matthew Alves in his BMW, and you can see right back behind him, Jason Bridges currently running second in the 35 machine with Neubauer and Floria. And Floria, for a moment there, stepped to the inside, but Neubauer was able to hold him off. But once again, side by side as they come out of the S's and start to make their run up towards turn number 5. So things starting to straighten out here, but definitely a 5-car breakaway here in the Pro-Am category. You know, it's good to see here, at least in the Pro-Ams, they have, over the last couple of weeks, Austin had some of the more, well, certainly some of that argy-bargy, some of the more, we'll call it exciting starts, but they've definitely gone and straightened things out here in the AM category to start this race off. As now we jump back, and here is that wreck that we were talking about before, with the number 26 machine of Sean Campbell, with the number 2 of Justin Brunner, and then we had Ryan Kaprowski in the 61 machine as well. So again, dropping them back now. Looks like the 26 has gotten back underway, but that's going to move Campbell now down into 7th as we jump back. And here we go once again. This is Kaprowski and Brunner. There we go. That's what happened there, as we had the McLaren with just nowhere to go when that car came around.
Yeah, there's really not much you can do in that situation other than wince a little, squint your eyes, and try to pull it back to the right as far as you can, but just really unfortunate there.
Wow, and did you see there Dan Floria in the McLaren as he takes the curbing coming out of turn 14, just missed the wall of champions. there. But great running there as he's sitting right back behind Matthew Poisson's in the number 12 machine. That is currently the battle for 5th. But I hasten to call it the battle for 5th right now because it is very tight right there from Neubauer all the way back to Soska in 8th. Real good battle there going on in the AM category.
Yeah, you can gain a lot of time through that last chicane if you do it perfect, but if you do it just a little bit wrong, as we just saw, you'll get a slowdown on the front stretch, and if you're in a tight battle, that 2 seconds turns into like 5 positions if you're really unlucky. So just part of the draw there. That's part of the fun, though, about these tight little chicanes, and most of the fun about Strickland-Gilles-Villeneuve.
It certainly is, and you can see again how tight it is, how close the walls are as we're on board right now with PJ Sturgios in the Inex Racing BMW. Again, Sturgios already has 2 wins to his name. I believe he is currently sitting 3rd in the championship at this point. I was a little surprised to see him only up to 5th at this point, and you can see we've got Meneno and Wills just a little bit further up the road, but again, plenty of time. The big thing there, obviously, though, is Sturgios doesn't have the benefit of the draft, doesn't have anybody to pull him through. He may be doing just a little fuel saving at the moment.
So you're going to see this pass around the outside. Tyler Campbell, this is for P2 in what should be the Pro-Am category. So excellent job there by Tyler. Of course, he was the one who had that great run last week. A bit of a quiet run for him, but still making moves today.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, Tyler Campbell, I just got word yesterday, was one of the finalists in the Project Alien program that I believe is being sponsored by Majors Garage, one of 8 people. For those of you that, at least here in the States, the TV show The Voice, well, think of it as The Voice except for sim racing. 4 coaches, 8 students, all trying to turn these students into the biggest alien they can, and I think the grand prize is a tryout with the Williams esports team, of course, part of the Williams Formula One effort there. So
I didn't catch the entire wreck, but it looks like Mark Scott spun out near the Wall of Champions, and then I believe he went the wrong direction and then ended up being hit by 2 other cars. Looks like they're 2 Porsches. I think we can get a replay of that. It was Ellis, and then going to be looks like James Pierce. Looks like he caught both those guys there racing side by side. That was a horrendous wreck. I think that's going to put all 3 of those cars out of the race completely. We'll see that replay here. You got Mark Scott. He's just going to come into the chicane, take a little bit too much speed there, lock the rear brakes up a little bit, and get it a little bit too wrong. You can see there's going to be Mark Fullis. He's going to come through here, just barely squeak by, and then right here,
and he rejoins right in front of traffic.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and the drivers have been coached, Austin, and have been I don't want to say admonished, but they've been spoken to in their drivers' meetings about unsafe rejoins. And I understand it's very difficult to get that car turned around, and he was in a very bad spot, but absolutely horrible to see him come out right in front of those 2 cars that were side by side going down into the final chicane. All right. So
yeah, they were pretty high up in the standings. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Yeah, and so we can see now where Pierce, of course, is in the pits. It looks like Scott is already checked out for the day. It looks like Costa, who had issues early on, is out as well. As we jump back to this Audi battle right now between Brewer and Rasmussen. This is the battle for 5th in the Pro-Am. And Austin, if you've been watching this race, they have been like this. Side by side, almost from the drop of the green flag. These 2 very well matched Audi R8s as they now come in to the final chicane, pop the curbing, and come back. And you can see a great battle going on right ahead of them as well, with Andrew Houston and Blake Scott in the battle for the last, and again, a little early on to be saying last up on the podium, but for 3rd place right now in the Pro-Am.
I don't know if it is too early to be saying that. It's really hard to pass here. As you can see, I think Rasmussen might be a little bit faster than Brewer, but it's almost impossible to make a pass here. So these guys, odds are they're probably hating each other right now for making life as miserable as they are. Keep trading places like this, but this is the most fun you can have as a race car driver. Like I said, it's so hard to pass, so it's very, very possible this might just be for the last spot on the podium.
All right, let's take a look here as we've got a pass for the lead in the Pro-Am category. And Tyler Campbell, who we were just talking about a few moments ago, in the number 6 Porsche, he gets around Joseph Smith now. And so move Campbell up to 7th overall. And again, he is your new leader in the Pro-Am. Yeah, so Austin, certainly, as you mentioned, very, very tough to pass here. It's narrow. Again, maybe not as tough to pass as, say, a Belle Isle. But, with the fuel loads that these cars have had to take, they are allowed no more than about half of their fuel cell. We expect that they will need to take 2 pit stops here tonight. And so part of this, obviously, is going to be fuel conservation, try to make that undercut in the pit lane. But as we saw last week, and we've seen in previous weeks, especially when you have these classes very tight, and as we're taking a look at the order now, I mean, we have pretty much no mixing between the pros, the Pro-Ams, and the Ams. It's seemingly when the first car, the leader in each one of the categories, takes to the pits, almost everybody else just follows them in, at least for the first pit stop. So you don't really get, you don't really see the opportunity to do the undercut unless maybe you underfill. Oh, and we have the 73 machine. That is Errol Yerksoy, goes around and talking about safe rejoins. He's waiting until traffic goes by. He now drops a number of positions here and then rejoins now in 16th position in the Pro-Am category. I believe he had made up about 7 positions from the start of this race, and now has lost the majority of them as the field drops back, or as he drops back.
Yeah, he's really shown himself to be one of the better passers in this league. I'll tell you what, though, every single race steward in the room just kind of let out a big sigh of relief there as he joined safely. I'm sure they were all pretty wide-eyed to see him in that predicament there at the end of the hairpin turn. But he did rejoin, so good for him. Round of applause from race stewards. We see right now we're looking at Ken Saska. Currently, this is a battle for 8th in class.
All right, getting word now that Eric Kulago, let's take a look at this. I believe he's actually gone and impacted. Gotcha. As Saska had impacted a wall, lost a couple positions there, drops back now. Saska now running in 9th position, right back behind Eric Kulaga, who we're on board with right now in that red, white, and blue Lamborghini.
Yeah, if we could take a look at Joseph Smith here. There's a fight for what's going to be the last step of the podium in the Pro-Am category. A really tight battle between Hewson, Smith, and Scott here.
Let's take a look here, heading down, and we'll jump to that battle in a second. Yeah, but the 3 Lamborghinis battling it out for third as we jump on board right now. This is actually the battle for the lead, I believe, in the AM category. We've got Jay Steffi in the Porsche, currently running third. We've got Matthew Alves in the BMW just ahead, and then Bridges. Here we go. Here's that battle in Pro-Am with the Lamborghini with Hewson, Scott, and Smith.
Yeah, these guys have been trading spots back and forth. You can see Hewson just barely made it through these guys. He's trying to scamper away. As we see Smith, he's kind of the car in the middle. I think he just got past Scott here. Ooh, diving really deep in there to try and make a move.
Yeah, as Wilson Brewer comes, as those 3 Lamborghinis have been going at it for lap upon lap. Brewer now, who worked his way clear of Rasmussen. Rasmussen now sitting at the tail end of the Pro-Am field. Brewer now right up into that battle as well. So a 3, almost 4-car battle now up for the podium spot.
Yeah, they're a little bit spread out there. You can see that's just one of the things that always seems to happen at tracks like this where it's super hard to pass is all the cars get really, really bunched together, and then somehow, some way or another, the fastest guys always find their way to the front over the course of a lap or two, and then you get more spread back out.
Yeah, and I think as we're speaking about this, I think Dan Tenorio sitting right back behind Brewer. Can't see. This is the camera angle. Can't see through Brewer's rear view mirror there, but I think Dan Tenorio in his Lamborghini. There's Tenorio. He's starting to make up ground as well. Only about a half a second, actually 0.8 of a second off of the back here. Look at this as the Audi now of Brewer really challenging Joseph Smith. Lots of peaks to the inside here as they make the long run down. Now coming underneath that overpass, going over to turn 8.
Contact.
And there you go as they go into turn 8. Brewer getting together with the Lamborghini of Smith, and Smith off driver's left. Let's take a look at it again as they came under the overpass. I just got him in the bumper under braking going into the chicane there at turn 8.
Yeah, I just barely misjudged the braking point of the car in front by a little bit, and of course, that's not what Smith wanted. But it's at some point Brewer's got to be there, in his rearview mirror, try to let him make a mistake. And I think some of that was just misjudging when he was getting on the brakes, and some of that might have been a little bit overspeed by the draft. But that's just what you'll have when you got really, really tight racing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and as we're back on board right now with Matthew Alves, this is Alves currently running second. And by the way, I don't know if we mentioned it up front. If you take a look at the timing tower there on the left-hand side, the drivers that have the white slashes next to their names, they are in the Pro category. Those with the blue are in the Pro-Am, and those with the red are in the Am category. And you can also, when we show those shots of the cars, if you look at the number boards, you'll see the white, blue, and red borders, or probably backing plates for their number boards as well. As Alves now starting to make up a little bit of ground under braking to Jay Steffi, and doing a little bit of fuel saving here, sitting back as Jason Bridge a couple car lengths up ahead in the lead in the Pro-Am, as we now jump a little bit further back into that Pro-Am category, as we now have side-by-side John Casey and Errol Yerixoy. We saw Yerixoy go around a little bit earlier, and Casey now drops a position, so move Yerixoy now up into 11th, drop Casey back into 12th, and I think we've got Kyle Herlitsky sitting right back behind there in the number 99 machine as well, so a 3-car battle for 11th.
Of course, right back behind them is Kyle Fredriksson. Great recovery drive from him. He was one of the drivers that spun out going into turn 1, as you see Jay Steffi making a move in his Q3 Sim Sports Porsche. He's making his way to the front.
All right, let's go on board now, and there's Harry Wills. Oh, and Wills is going to have to avoid a car who got the chicane just a little bit wrong. Does manage to avoid. Wills now running up in 3rd position. They're just ahead of PJ Sturgio, so you can see now all over the back of the Mercedes of Wills. So Sturgios has made up a couple positions. I think that earlier wreck that involved Pierce, Kaprowski, and Brunner probably helped them out quite a bit in moving up the order there. But things starting to tighten up at the front of the Pro category, as just ahead of Wills, you saw the McLaren about 10 car lengths up. There it is of Dave Meneno, and then the Porsche of Alex Ellis about 6 seconds up or so. We haven't really talked about it, but Ellis has really put his head down and started to walk away from the rest of the field at this point.
Yeah, one of the things I want to touch base on what you said, that someone was saving fuel. One of the easiest ways you can save fuel in the sim is you just let off the gas a little bit earlier down the straightaway. Let the car kind of coast into the corner, so you don't need to brake as hard. It also allows you to brake deeper, so you might be able to try outbrake someone. But that's just, again, saving some fuel to make sure you can stretch it on fuel so you don't have to pit as often. One of the things I think that's going to decide your race in this is, when you pit. Do you pit a little early to try and get yourself out of some lap traffic, or do you pit a little later because you're in clean air? I think that's going to be one of the big things this race plays out.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. As a matter of fact, and I don't believe it was last week, but there was that race previously and maybe it was. I think it was actually at the Glen, where Sturgios actually never came in for what we assumed was going to be a second required pit stop. Actually stayed out and managed to take the win. Yeah, actually that was at Watkins Glen. Certainly the ability to save fuel when you're sitting in traffic and be able to do it while you're holding off, again, a line of, in some cases, 5 or 6 cars behind you. Definitely a huge skill. There as we jump back now, and this is the battle for 3rd. We were talking about Sturgios in that Inex Racing BMW, Harry Wills in the Mercedes, as they are now side by side as they make the run, that long run down towards the final chicane over 13 and 14. We'll see who can come through past the wall of champions. Sturgios gets into the corner first, pops the curbing, and we now have a new 3rd place runner, PJ Sturgios, in the number 57 machine.
Yeah, that was some real heads up driving by Harry Wills there just to kind of understand. Sturgio's had the run. He'd been catching him for a while. Just wisely back out of the position and not lose any more time between these guys than they had to. So heads up driving by him. What a pass up by PJ Sturgios.
Yeah.
Really, again, proving himself to be one of the best passers in the league.
Yeah, he committed to the corner. You could see he was going to do it. You know, obviously it took a lot of I don't want to say teamwork, but a lot of work between both of those drivers to get through there safely. And obviously we're only 20 plus minutes into a 75-minute race. The last thing you want to be doing is taking that car back to the pits for repairs. Oh, and I think we did have I think we might have seen a car go around there. Maybe we'll check back in a little bit, and I think that might have been Sam Lackey. But let's jump over here. This is the battle right now for, I believe this is the battle for 12th with Casey Fredrickson and Herlitsky, as they are now all nose to tail jockeying for position as they come into that very quick kink. You know, we talk about the kink at Road America over a turn. You know, it's not exactly a chicane. Turns 8 and turn 9. Turn 9. Really quick kink there. Ooh, a little bit of contact as we've got Martinez, and I believe that was Kepler in the 27 machine as they all got together.
Yeah, just really, really close race. And of course, that's one of the scenarios where two people really went for that chicane and one person won out, but not the right way, basically.
Right.
Kepler decided to keep his nose in there as long as possible. As I think we saw another Lamborghini lose out there and have to stop, I believe. That is Cooper. I can't tell for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was John Cooper in the number 18 machine that we saw sitting there watching the world go by. Let's take a look at the replay. Well, here's Brian Voltz in the BMW, the number 14 machine, and you can see here is he just missed the chicane there altogether, parks the car, and I think he's waiting for an opening. And that now moves the 14 machine quite a bit down through the order. He is now sitting in 18th position in the Pro-Am, and there we go. There's the 53 of Martinez in almost the exact same spot. The Vulture Motorsports machine, and he has to let a number of drivers by. He is now going to fall back to 8th position in Pro-Am.
Yeah, and it's really weird, too, to see two guys do that in rapid succession like that, because those were two completely unrelated incidents. Those guys were nowhere near each other when that played out. So we see the battle for first in class here between Dan Floria and Jay Steffi. Jay Steffi's been on the move for a couple laps now, putting in some really, really good lap times. Really impressive to see him come up from so deep in the field.
Yeah, and you can see there as they came through out of 6 and 7 down and make that run down towards 8, that the Lamborghini, though, with great pace coming out of some of these corners, that the Porsche, though, running really good laps right now, just maybe not getting the digs out of the slow corners like the McLaren there. But a great battle going on right now with only about 3/4 of a second separating those two cars, and the Porsche just hanging all over the back of the McLaren. Although you would think that this course, Austin, might be very well suited to a car like the McLaren with some of these very quick switchbacks. You know, not a lot of very long sweeping corners. And you know, the ability of that McLaren to make very quick changes in direction would certainly be an advantage.
You would, yeah. One of the things you also got to remember, too, is sometimes it can just be based on driver preference. You know, sometimes, you know, you might see Floria really wants to put the power down and give those rear tires a hurting coming out of the corners, and maybe Steffi is trying to conserve his. You know, we're under a half hour into this hour and 15-minute long race, so could be some tire conservation. It could also just be the way these guys want to drive their cars right now. You know, some tracks lend themselves better to certain driving styles, and maybe this just doesn't suit Steffi. Of course, not for fighting Floria. He's come very, very much up through the pack.
All right, as we're on board right now with Eric Kulaga in the 66 machine, Jason Bridges in the 35 Porsche, and look at this. Looks like the Porsche goes off Matthew Alves, who was sitting right back behind there. Alves, who had at one point led the Pro-Am category, he goes into the pits for his first pit stop, and we've had a number of drivers start to drop in. I don't think we mentioned it, but up in the Pro category, Dave Meneno and PJ Sturgios have both taken their first pit stops. We've got both Alves and Martinez currently sitting in the pits right now, and Kyle Fredrickson comes in as well. So we're starting to see a lot of the AM category starting to take pit stops. I think Frederick Lavoie, the only one of our Pro-Ams at the moment. I take that back. John Cooper as well, having come into the pits for their first pit stops as well.
Yeah, right now we're looking at Jason Bridges. You saw him miss the chicane there. A lot better to miss the chicane, blow through it, kind of take that punch in the gut, have to give back that slow down in the front stretch, than to just completely miss it, hit the wall, and end your day completely. So
exactly.
Great driving by him there.
Yeah, you always have that risk and reward, and much better to not take the risk and be rewarded with not having to spend half your race sitting in the pit lane trying to take repairs. As we're on board right now with the number 5 Lamborghini, that's Sammy Lackey, currently is running 12th. And you can see here just a little bit further back from John Casey in the 78 Porsche. Still a great battle going on there. And we've got Matthew Plaisance. Actually, that is not Plaisance sitting back behind him. I think that's one of our McLarens. That Gloria, that might be up near him. We'll get that number. Actually, no, that is Dave Meneno, currently running 4th overall. That just gets by as Meneno's trying to work his way through that Pro-Am, that AM category traffic.
Yeah, you can really tell Meneno's got to get through there as fast as possible, because if you look just barely behind him is PJ Sturgios. He knows he's coming. These guys have made their pit stop, so this is for position. This isn't, two different strategies trying to play out. This is for position. This is when you really got to get through all the slower class cars as fast as possible. And the hard part is they're in their own race. They're kind of obliged to make it a little easier for you to pass them. But the faster car is supposed to make the passes at the end of the day, so you really got to fight and dig for everything you can.
All right, now we're going to have to watch here as we see Sturgios.
Contact there between Lackey and I believe that was Cooper.
That went around, so unfortunate there. He's going to try and get that car back underway. Let's take a look.
This is Lucky. He's going to run wide here to let PJ by on his inside, and of course carries a little bit too much speed in here. Hot Tires just comes out, hits his other Lamborghini compatriot there coming out of the pits, and of course nothing you can do in that scenario because you don't see that. You don't see Sammy coming there. Yeah,
exactly. And I was going to mention as that happened that I thought we were going to probably end up seeing possibly a 3-car battle for third, because Alex Ellis had pitted in from the lead. And was just coming down the pit lane as we saw Meneno and Sturgios making their way onto the front straight, and it is fairly close at this point. A couple seconds still separating now Ellis from Meneno and Sturgios, who I believe just swapped positions very, very briefly. So Sturgios has now gotten up to him here as we jump a little bit further back, and this is the battle right now for, I believe, third in the AM category with Drew Neubauer, and actually this is the battle for fourth with Neubauer and Jerry Forkhold right back behind in the Mercedes.
Yeah, Harry Wills just went in the pits. He actually almost collected Travis Kelper going in there. Of course, you can break a lot further than you would need to take the chicane into Wall of Champions. So actually, Travis ended up going on the radio and telling Harry he scared the crap out of him going through into the pits, because you can just carry more speed. You can do that in the F1 video games to try and get the AI out. But of course, making those same kind of moves here in iRacing, pretty neat to see.
And of course, Wills was pitting in from the lead there, and after his pit stop, he comes out in fourth. And just taking a look at the pit times here, and a little surprising. Alex Ellis, who is now back up in the lead after all of our top cars in the pro category have cycled through. Oh, getting very loose there is the BMW of Alves. And I was going to say, as I was checking the pit times Ellis, who is still out in the lead, he was sitting in his pit box for almost 6 seconds longer than the other top 5 drivers in the pro category, but still managed to bring that car out in the lead, and still has, I believe, about a 5-second advantage over the rest of the pro category. As we're still on board with Matt Alves. Definitely had some issues there about a half a lap ago, as he is trying to make his way up to Jason Bridges, and we'll drop a little bit further back now.
Going to look at Kyle Fredrickson here. This is going to be the battle for 15th in class. He's currently trying to chase down Kyle Saska here for that 15th position. You can see great recovery drive for him. One thing, though, I want to mention about the pit stops, he said a little bit longer of a pit stop for someone. That could be damage here. The walls are really, really close. Sometimes it's really easy to hit another car. Sometimes you just barely bend up a fender. So some of that might just be pulling that out. Some of it could be a little bit extra fuel, or just maybe rolling through your pit box. You might have to reverse or being too far over to one side or the other. You can see Kyle currently let by some other cars. Now we're going to go to the battle second class with Fowler and Steffi.
There we go with the Audi of Michael Fowler, and then Jay Steffi in the Porsche just behind. And again, as you mentioned, this is the battle for second right now in the Pro-Am category, which I believe is or probably not in the Pro-Am, in the Am category, which I believe is the highest subscribed of the 3 categories here this evening, with, I believe, 18 cars in the class, and very, very tight running here, as you can see. And look at this, look at the Porsche with the ground that it makes up, under braking going into the hairpin over at 10, is able to pull right up to the back of that Audi.
You can see now we're looking at the battle first in class between Houston, Campbell, and Brewer. This has been heating up for a couple laps here. These guys made their pit stops, coming back out. Now the heat is on.
Yeah, and you can see there is the BMW, and I think that was Volts in the 14, lets all of those cars through. And look at this as they come through the chicane side by side, as we've got Campbell and Brewer going side by side. And now Campbell, who at one point led this category, he now is nose up on Andrew Houston as they go into the hairpin. And now we've got the Audi of Brewer. He's along for the ride as well, 3 wide as we come out of the hairpin. The Lamborghini of Houston, he's got the point here at the moment. And look at this, Houston is, Brewer is really giving Campbell some challenges there, as Campbell keeps looking to the inside. The Audi seems to want to mirror everything he's doing as they come down into the final chicane over at turn 13. 2 wide through the chicane, almost 3 wide through the chicane, as the Lamborghini of Houston manages to hold on to the position for the moment with Campbell second, Brewer running in third. But this is not over yet. We ought to just follow this for a couple laps here, or at least for a little bit longer, as they come through turns 1 and 2. And you can see things, Austin, starting to jumble up right back behind them as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't think you could put a piece of paper in between the Audi of Brewer and the Porsche in front of him of Campbell, because they have been extremely close the last couple corners. I don't know if it's late braking or just, Brewer looking for every opportunity you can to try and make a move on Campbell, but this is some intense racing. You can see Campbell's doing the same thing to Houston now.
He is.
I think we're going to see something down this straightaway here.
Well, and that's as we were watching that last half lap or so, what was frankly concerning me is it looked like every time Campbell was getting ready to make a move on Houston, as he does right now coming into the chicane, and he hasn't gotten it done yet. They're still side by side. You see Brewer with the Audi flashing the lights right behind him. He has nowhere to go, and we're going to have Dan Tenorio joining this battle as well. Every time that the Porsche Campbell went to make a move going as they go into the hairpin, we then had Brewer trying to make this counter move, as if he was trying to leapfrog both the second place car and Houston as well. And as we saw, the Audi, I think he's getting a little frustrated sitting back there as our 2 leaders are going side by side practically around this entire course.
Yeah, you mentioned Dan Tenorio. Wow, these guys are still scrapping every single corner. These guys change position. This is some excellent heads-up driving here by all the drivers involved. Dan Tenorio's finally got this straight, and I can guarantee you, everyone here is cussing each other out, because now there's another guy up here fighting for position. You can see Brewer, what a move there, almost a slide job there on Campbell. My goodness.
Yeah, as he gets right by, just the car control, those cars keeping off the walls and keeping off of each other. excellent there, as now Wilson Brewer, for the moment, he moves up into second. And no rest for the weary with Tyler Campbell now.
Again, Tenorio ends up hitting the wall with the rear end of his car. My goodness, that was really, really close racing. I hate to see that. I think, though, Tenorio can still continue on. A little bit of damage, though, in the right rear part of his car, and especially that wing. That might hurt his rear downforce, but hopefully he can come back at it and show Campbell another thing or two, and even maybe fight again for the lead with Campbell and Houston.
Yeah, and, I'll tell you, I didn't see any contact there. I think it was just a question that Tenorio got out in the marbles there and, lost the rear end of the car. And, again, just that slight brush of the wall, and he's going to have to reset and work his way up. And just as that happened, I was going to mention that we had Blake Scott coming back into that battle as well, as we take a look now. And this is the battle for 11th. Actually, pardon me, I believe it is the battle for 12th position with Poisson, Soska, and also Neubauer. The three Lamborghinis all, well, actually, I guess, no, you're right. It is the battle for, I'm going to have to handle Daniel's graphics here, because that was actually the battle for 11th with the Mercedes of Fredrickson, Poisson, and then Soska. As
look at it, Brewer, though, going for the lead. My goodness, these two went through the chicane side by side, and somehow they were able to keep it off each other. Still clean. You can see Brewer throwing out the anchors, breaking real late into the corner, getting a little squirrely. This battle continues to be a surprise.
Look at that, as he manages to keep the Audi under control, and frankly, just the fact that maybe he was a little bit beyond the limits of adhesion there. He actually managed to hold Houston off just as the rear end stepped out a little bit on him. It basically took the path to advance for Andrew Houston, took it away from him, and he had to check up a little bit going into and then out of the chicane here, as that Audi Brewer's got that car flying right now. He's got the rear end all over the place, but that has allowed Campbell to close back up again. Blake Scott, and take a look here. Back in the game is Daniel Tenorio. He is now back in that battle as well, trying to maybe get a little bit of retribution for his earlier off.
Yeah, I was following Dan when he ended up hitting the wall with the right rear of his car. He just got in the marbles there, got on the power a little bit too quickly, and ended up just tank slapping the wall there. Not too bad, though, as he's clearly showing us he's caught back up to this group. I look for him to be probably really close to leading a couple laps here. These guys keep scrapping. Fred Lavoie is going to come up here. So Lavoie really looking to make some more moves up in the field.
Yeah, and you can see that white BMW not all that far back. And, I was starting to think here that perhaps as we see both Houston and Campbell starting to go at it again, and we know Campbell has no fear, has no problems going side by side, I was wondering if this was perhaps the best opportunity for Wilson Brewer to start to maybe separate himself out from the rest of the field here, because you can only imagine going through some of these chicanes here, going through the 3-4 chicane and now making their way up towards 6 and 7, that perhaps that Audi has the opportunity to start moving away just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. If you're Wilson Brewer right now, all you're trying to do is put in the best laps you can. We're talking qualifying pace here, because these guys just keep floundering over each other. So you want to put as much room between these guys and you as you possibly can, because you got the three best in the series here. You got Tenorio, Lavoie, Cooper. Kalaga's just behind them too, a little bit further back than that. But again, you're fighting for every position, and it's only a matter of time. So you see, it looks like Campbell there made a little bit of a mistake, went off.
Yes, Campbell goes off. So Campbell now is going to drop back into 5th position in Pro-Am. Let's go take a look here. We're going to take a look now. This is the battle for 9th here in the AM category. And we had the 12 of Plaisance gets by Kyle Fredrickson here. So good move there by Plaisance in the Lamborghini. As we jump back to the battle that we've been watching here. Actually, this is now we're on board, and we haven't talked about him pretty much at all. Alex Ellis right now, our leader overall and in the pro category, and he has almost a 7.5 second advantage right now on the rest of the field. He's really separated himself out from Meneno and Sturgios here, and just again putting his head down, and you can see At least for a couple minutes here. He has maybe a little bit of time to breathe and to relax here without any traffic ahead of him. Just has to put his head down and drive.
Yeah, you can see though he's not leaving much up to chance. He's going all the way out to the wall there, almost hit the wall of champions. He got real close to it. You can see he's putting his car right on the white line. Yeah, I mean he's just nailing all these corners. This is one of those rare opportunities where the driver, the car, and the track mesh really well. We see Brian Voles going off course there a bit, just doing a little bit of exploring. It's going to be a bit of a slowdown as he comes back on track, lets the other cars by.
Stays offline, and that number 14 machine lets him by. Volts sitting in 16th, right, or probably 17th right now in the AM categories. We jump on board with Kyle Herlitsky, and Herlitsky gets it wrong, puts the car around.
Almost identical what we saw Tenorio do, except in Tenorio's case, he's more fortunate. He was a bit closer to the wall, so when it stepped out, he just kind of tapped the wall and was able to gather it back up.
Yeah, like baseball glove, kind of caught him and spit him right back out, and he was able to continue on his way. Herlitsky not so lucky here as we track with our leader once again there, Ellis, as he goes on. And now let's take a look. Here is Dan Floria in his McLaren. He is currently your leader in the AM category, and you can see now things are starting to tighten up behind him just a little bit. And as Floria, he's starting to run up on some slower traffic up ahead of him, and you can see there not a lot of ground just in front of, to go in front of him, as we've got two cars battling it out side by side. And this is Harry Wills and Sean Campbell, the battle for fourth in the pro category.
Yeah, these guys might be faster than Florio and Steffi, but running side by side is going to slow them both down. So, of course, now Florio's like, well, I kind of had to let you by, but you're slowing me down now. So who's supposed to make way for who here?
Yeah, exactly. And so, luckily for Florio, he's got about a 3-second advantage right now over the third place, or probably the second place runner in class, and that's Jay Steffi, who is trying to make up some ground here. But let's jump back to Campbell, and looks like Harry Wills brought his car into the pits. That will be his second stop of the evening.
Right now we're looking at Matthew Alves and his BRM Racing BMW, currently in 6th place. He's having a pretty solid day today.
And want to thank Matthew there. A great photo of he and his new bride. They got married a couple weeks ago. Used to have a shot of him in a cow. Yeah.
So clearly he's been making some upgrades.
Yes, exactly. All right, as we go back on board right now, and this is the battle for second in the Pro-Am category with Houston, Scott, Tenorio, Campbell. You can see a couple car lengths back there in the Porsche, and Frederick Lavoie, who you mentioned, also starting to close things down. So, kind of what I expected, though, if you take a look at this, Austin. Quite a bit further up the road is that Audi of Wilson Brewer, and Brewer has, I believe, about a 12-second gap up to the next car on the road, which is Harry Wills, who just finished his pit stop there. So again, a lot of open track for that Audi to stretch the advantage as these three cars, and actually we'll say 5 cars, because I don't think you can count Campbell or Lavoie out of it, actually throw John Cooper into the battle as well. As these cars battled out, again, certainly slowing them down just a little bit. At some point, I think they're going to have to realize that the constant side-by-side battling is not advantageous, and just kind of try to make their way back up and knock a little bit out of Brewer's lead as we go on here, as we're now just about halfway through. We're 45 minutes into this 75-minute battle, so actually a bit over. And I never claimed that simple math was easy for me. So we're actually quite a bit over halfway through this race.
Yeah, doing decimals is a lot harder when sometimes you go up to 100 and sometimes you only go up to 60. I'll be honest, even for an engineer like myself, that kind of math always gets me kind of confused.
Yeah, I always tell everybody, because I've been in the IT industry for years, that I got into computers because I couldn't do math in my head, and the best way was to actually start using stuff that had a calculator. So there we go, as we're taking a look now at this battle that continues on with Houston. with Blake Scott, with Tenorio, and again Campbell, who had that off just a couple of laps ago. He is starting to close things back down. I think of the group there, Campbell definitely has shown the most speed. The last time by, he was about 3/10 faster. Actually, about 3/10 faster than the three Lamborghinis up ahead of him, and you can see they're starting to close down. And I think he's bringing Lavoie and Cooper along with him.
Yeah, very much so. Definitely bringing Lavoie with him. Lavoie did end up just bobbling a bit through the chicane 2 chicanes ago, so might have slowed him down. Certainly knocked his confidence a bit, but of course still putting in very, very fast lap times. Keeping up with Campbell as he tries to eat into the 3 Lamborghini lead. You can see, you're talking about it though, Brewer, he's done a fantastic job. Currently he's got a 3.5, 2-second lead in front of the 3 Lamborghinis, so he's just doing everything he needs to do to try and lengthen that lead there. We see Michael Fowler battling with, gets really close to the wall there. I don't think he quite hit it though.
No, that was Fowler and Forkolb in the Mercedes. That was the battle for 8th in the AM category. As we jump back to that, continue with that battle now for 2nd here in the Pro-Am. And let's take a look back here at Kyle Fredrickson as he makes his way down, and Fredrickson loses it going into turn 13, going into the final chicane, parks the car, realizes that it's going to be a little tough to get that thing turned around from where he is, but he does manage to continue as we jump back now into that battle for 2nd in Pro-Am.
Yeah, these guys continue to go at it. No moves being made quite yet. I think everyone's just kind of letting their tires cool back down a bit, sizing up their competition. I think all they're doing right now is they're trying to make it so they can make it on one more stop of fuel, and be all done pitting. So I think that's what we're waiting for right now. I think the first person that does that is going to end up being the better out of all 5 of these cars. Maybe come out ahead of Brewer, quite possibly, if they can put in some really, really good laps and just undercut the field that way. But we'll have to see.
Now I'm trying to track here because we know Lavoie is sitting right back behind Campbell, but there's another another white BMW sitting back there, and I think that might be Sean Ryan, who had that early off and he's sitting 6th in Pro. But is actually 32nd overall as we jump back over now to John Cooper. And Cooper is sitting back behind that battle that we've been watching. He is currently sitting 18th behind, I believe, Campbell, but that is almost, I think, how many seconds is that? That is about 8 seconds back, as we have a lot of our Pro-Am drivers have just come into the pit lane here, Austin. It looks like Lavoie, Tenorio, and also Cooper pitted in, and they're taking their 2nd pit stops.
Yep, I definitely expect this will be their last pit stop for the day. So these guys should be able to undercut the field. They're going to go out for some clean air here and just see what kind of lap times they can put down. And hopefully, they just bit their bullet. Hopefully it doesn't bite them back coming out in traffic.
Yeah, so that now that opens things up just a little bit as we take a look now here, and this is the battle for 4th in Pro-Am coming through the probably not Pro-Am, in AM, coming out of the hairpin, and we've got side by side, we've got Kepler, and we've got beside Kepler, we've got Yerksoy, and we've got Matt Alves there as well. Actually, I take that back. That is Bridges that is leading the bunch. It's Bridges, Kepler, and Yerksoy.
Oh, contact there. I believe Kepler ended up hitting Bridges there into the chicane. He just apologized over the in-game radio there. A little bit of apology for hitting him. Bridges isn't taking it personal though, thankfully.
Well, thankfully, I mean, he was lucky there as he went off, and he went off with a lot of speed that he didn't get into the wall, separating the pits from the track there over by turn 13. But did manage to rejoin. But that is now going to drop him back to 6th in the AM category.
Just in between these cars, though, just in front behind Dave Meneno is PJ Sturgio. So he just came out of the pits right into this battle. So unfortunately for him, he's going to have to try and do something with these guys before he can put in some other fast laps. But currently, right before he went to the pits, I believe the gap was 9 seconds. So Alex Ellis looks like he's running away with this thing for right now.
Yeah, he is. As a matter of fact, I think he's close to almost a full minute up ahead of the rest of the pro category here, as we do follow Meneno and Sturgios. Now that last time by, Meneno in the pits for about a second, a little bit more than a second longer than PJ Sturgios, as we have here the two twisted Lamborghinis, the 40 and the 17. That's Tenorio and also Andrew Hewson side by side. We saw them working together at Watkins Glen a number of weeks ago. Here right now, they are battling it out for 6th in the Pro-Am. And we'll jump back over here and take a look. This is the battle for 4th in the AM category. You can see side by side going into the final chicane, as we've got Errol Yeriksoy here in the 13 car and Travis Kepler right back behind. And
yep,
looks like
even
another
more clean racing all the way through the field. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and it looks like another great battle going on right behind them. That was not in the AM category, however. I was trying to track down. I think that was one of our BMWs. I think that was actually against Sean Ryan, and I think that may have been Ryan and Sandy Lackey. Again, not an in-class battle there.
Yep, you made some mention of Meneno being in the pits about 1 second longer than Sturgios there. This is going to be your money stop. This is the most important pit stop of the race, because your first stop, that's going to be full fuel. That's going to be as much fuel as you can take. The second one, though, you're under-fueling the car compared to a full load, just because you then know how much time you have left to get to the end. As we really get into the last final minutes of this race, you're under-fueling the car, so, maybe taking 75% of a fuel load. Some of these guys are having to do all those calculations in their head. If they're like me, they don't want to install the crew chief app because they're lazy. They're just going to do the math in their head, and usually it comes out okay. Sometimes it might bite you in the rear end, but other times it ends up working out just all right, and you can have a fun time with it. As we see Andrew Rasmussen, he was one of the guys in the tight battle with Brewer, so good to see him having a solid run in 11th place there in class.
Yeah, as he recovered from that early spinning, and we saw those two Audis side by side for so many laps early on in this race, and then Rasmussen had, I believe he had some issues and dropped all the way back. He's running 11th in class, but he's got almost the entire AM category that he'd have to work his way through in order to get back up to 10th position in Pro-Am, which is currently John Cooper in the number 18 Lamborghini. But doesn't look like it is. Doesn't look like he's changed his style there. Still, just has got his head down and trying to hit his marks here, as he's been doing all race. Again, kind of dealt a difficult, bad hand early on in this race.
Yeah, right now he's just trying to make the most of a bad situation, get all the points he can to try and, stay in the points battle as much as possible. Sometimes, these are the kind of races that really end up making a championship season, or a top 3 or a top 5 season, one of those, because even though you have a bad race and everything looks bad, doom and gloom, you make the most of it and end up coming out here with a solid points day.
All right, as we jump now back to the battle here, this is Jay Steffi, and I think he was sitting right back behind Eric Kulaga. Kulaga ended up taking his car. Yeah, let's see, did Kulaga get a slow down? Steffi got a slow down there as Kulaga took to the pits just ahead of him. So Kulaga pitted in from second for his second pit stop of the day. That should be his last. That moves Steffi now up into second in the AM category, but still about, I think, still about 3 seconds back behind our leader, Dan Floria, in his McLaren. As we jump back to this battle for second overall with Dave Meneno and PJ Sturgios, and Sturgios just hounding the McLaren as he's been doing for the last 3 laps or so. Here as things are starting to wind down, just under 20 minutes remaining here in this 75-minute race.
Yep, Sturgios continues to try and see if he can't get around Dave Meneno. These guys kind of come out of the pits about a second between them. You can see Alex also, if you look on your leaderboard, he's about 20 seconds ahead of these guys. So he's really got an easy race on his hands for the rest of this thing. Trying to close it out here. He's driven a great race so far from second on the grid. That's just the hand he was dealt. He's making the absolute most of it. You can see these guys not giving each other a whole lot of room. Sturgio still trying to size up the competition here. He's one of the guys that's really good about saving his tires. You can see he's just going to try to arc it down in here and get a good run down the backstretch. Not as good as getting out of the corner, though. The BMW is the McLaren. One of the things you pointed out really early, I think at the top of the broadcast, Greg, was how good the McLarens were at getting out of the corner. And you can see Meneno is using that to his advantage here.
Yeah, the size, the width, the length, the disadvantage that BMW has, pretty apparent there, having to dig out of the hairpin. But it seems to, and we've seen this over the course of the season, that Sturgis and that BMW, very, very good through very quick transitions through a lot of the bus stop type chicanes, and obviously here coming through turns 13, 14, also through turns 3 and 4 as well. And it just appears as though he's again, I think the best way to put it is, as you did, he's sizing up the competition. He knows he has time. Perhaps if he has some questions about, whether or not he has enough fuel in the car to make it to the end. I'm sure all of these drivers trying to, essentially leave just that last little bit to perhaps run out of fuel on the cool down lap here. Maybe he's doing a little bit of fuel savings as well, just in case. And, really putting the onus on Dave Meneno to try and to hold him off.
Yeah, he's just trying to take up space in his mind. He's trying to get that free rent in his brain there, just trying to fill up his mirror, see if he can force him into a mistake. Meneno, though, one of the more solid drivers in the league, as is Sturgis, and PJ knows that. He's just trying to, again, be in his mirror, try to force him into a mistake, and make the position free. I mean, if you make Meneno run off track, you can just easily go by. You don't have to make a quick move, abuse your tires. You're 20 seconds behind Ellis for the race lead here. There's not a whole lot you can do to win this race other than hope that Ellis makes some sort of a mistake or goes off or God forbid, gets involved in someone else's accident. So These guys right now, he's got like 17 minutes to the end of the race. He has more than enough time to just make one pass.
Right. And, and we saw very early on, Sturgis, he's not afraid to push the car deep into one of these chicanes, to go side by side with somebody if he needs to. Again, with all the time here, better to play it safe, let the race come to you. And, and if you haven't been able to make the move with 4 minutes remaining, then, perhaps you get aggressive to try and get it done, but knowing that he has the capability and he likely by the end of the race will have the car to do it. Of course, as none of these drivers, as best we could tell, took any tires during these pit stops, the car might be, and not just his, of course, but Meneno's as well, might not be the same car that it was on lap 5 or lap 6 when we saw those great battles going into the chicanes, as it looks like Meneno starting to have a few connectivity issues as well. We'll have to see how that plays out and see if those two cars can keep apart. I think there's nothing worse or nothing more disconcerting than following a car that you just, you see it disappear for a moment, you don't know where it's going to reappear. As we jump back over now, this is the battle for 9th in the Pro-Am category. We've got Brent Bravata right now in the Lamborghini. That number 11 Lamborghini. Just ahead of him is Joseph Smith in the 55 machine, as they go nose to tail through the Senna S's here, and then we'll see how this plays out. Lamborghini on Lamborghini as they come through turns 1 and 2.
Tons of great battles up and down through the field. You just saw it in the back of the shot there. There's Meneno and Sturgio, so you can see really tight battles up and down through the field here. Each class has their own tight battles. Lots of fun racing going on. You can see though, not a whole lot of passing though. Extremely difficult to pass here.
And there's that battle coming up right behind him. We'll have to see what happens as Meneno and Sturgio running in the low 36s. And the battle there that we have with Smith and Bravada in in the low 37s. So I think that battle is going to be coming up on them pretty darn quickly.
Oh, definitely. I'm really excited to see these two battles come together and see who comes out on top of each of them. Does Bravada, is Bravada and Smith, are they just going to pull over and let these guys by and each of them know that? Or is one of them kind of going to play a little bit dirty and just follow the faster guys through and try to make a move here? I'm interested to see if Bravada can get by Smith, if Bravada can get by Smith here, or if Sturgios can get by Meneno.
And the little peek behind the curtain thing here, because all these cars, all these drivers, regardless of what class we have them on here on the broadcast, are all in the GT3 cars.
Oh, Sturgios got a really big run. Sorry to interrupt there. Sturgios
yeah.
making a move here down the front stretch. I think he's going to throw the anchor down into turn one here. I think he's almost cleared Meneno completely. Meneno fights back on the inside. Oh, man, that's really tight. Almost pulls a slide job, but, of course, Sturgios going to have the inside going here around the carousel, down into turn 3 and 4 here through this chicane. He's going to have the outside, though, as he makes the same mistake as Dan Tenorio did on the outside and kind of slapped the wall.
Here we go, and let's take a look now. And now cementing that position, at least for the moment, Dave Meneno. But you can see as Sturgios gets great runs, got a great run out of the kink, and that time got a very good run out of the hairpin, whereas we'd seen a couple laps earlier that he wasn't getting very good jumps out of there. He, for the briefest of moments, had the car alongside, but as you mentioned here, passing is very difficult. That as quickly as you can move alongside on a left-hander, the track switches back in the other direction, and you just don't have the long runs here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that you do, say, at a Road America that we had last week, where you could, if you get a good jump out of a slow corner, that you can motor on by as they go down into the hairpin once again. And there, look again, as the McLaren gets a great jump out of the hairpin. Let's take a look back here at that last lap with Sturgios attempting that move for second here in the Pro category.
Yeah, Sturgios just doesn't get close enough to the door of Meneno as he needed to kind of hold on to that place, but he makes another great run down the front stretch. We're going to see the same replay here. You can just watch. Meneno is just going to throw the car into turn one here, and he's going to almost get the position back completely. Just barely clears Sturgios, but he can't pull back down. Sturgios is going to have the inside. It's a lot easier to put the power down if you're on that inside line. It's so much better rubbered up there. And then Meneno is just going to hang on to the outside. He's going to lose a bit more speed through here, but of course he's back on the inside. And there's a lot more grip out there because Sturgios is in the marbles on the outside.
Yeah, and as soon as they got through that 3-4 chicane, as he was back to the inside there, coming through turn 4, as he got back to the rubbered up section of the track there, he was able to go and get back in the lead there. But real interesting to watch there as they move through the series of different chicanes, going through the Senna S's, going through 3 and 4, to see the levels of grip. I mean, it just amazed me coming through turn 2, the amount of grip that Sturgios had in the BMW, as they now have caught that battle just ahead of them with the Lamborghinis, and they've actually separated the battle that we were watching with Scott and Hewson here, and have now managed to get by. Let's take a look here as Scott and Hewson haven't stopped that battle yet, as they are side by side coming through the Senna S's. Wow, great battles again, Austin, all the way top down through each one of our 3 classes here, as Hewson now manages to get around Blake Scott, move Hewson up into 3rd, move Scott down to 4th in the Pro-Am.
Yeah, I'm really surprised just how well these drivers have been able to put their elbows out and make the moves they need to slide around. These cars are really easy to slide around, but to do it with such precision that these guys have been all race to make the passes they have, it's really just incredible to see, especially when you realize they haven't doored each other. Usually, if you were to see that in the official races, you just see guys getting absolutely doored, taken out, spinning all over the track. These guys do it with such precision, and it's really fun to see.
Yeah, very good racecraft and very conscientious driving from these folks, as we are now taking a look. And this is the battle for second in the AM category. Jay Steffi in his Porsche, trailing right back behind the Lamborghini of Eric Kulaga now, as they come through, and they are coming in. Was that out of, I believe that was out of, coming out of the Senna S's there. As they now head over to turns 3 and 4. but very, very tight. Now, of course, the leader right now in the AM category, that is Dan Floria. He's about 10 seconds up the road, so he's got a little bit of breathing room here. But Kulaga and Steffi, and we always seem to focus almost every single week on Eric Kulaga, that he makes some very, very, very good late race runs. That he seems to really protect the equipment and has really good tire management over the course of these long 75-minute races.
Yeah, especially because you look at where he gridded up. He gridded up 39th, and currently he's fighting Dan Florea in 30th, Jay Steffi 26th. So he's there to make it all up from the beginning, and he's just really, really good at conserving his equipment, making sure he still has a good piece at the end of the race to make sure he can maximize the points, and of course then maximize how far back in the field he can start. It's crazy to think of, but the racing we see here up and down the field for the entire race is the reason they do that entire grid invert, because the cream's always going to rise to the top. It really depends when that happens, because there's always going to be a faster guy behind a slower guy, and you're going to see that for the entire race. So it's pretty immaculate to always see some of these same guys rising through the field and being up at the very front, like we see Sturgio's, Campbell's. Right now you see Tenorio, Houston, Kelper, Kulaga, Steffi, Floria, all these guys, it's not just magic they get up there. They can take care of their equipment.
Exactly. And, I'll tell you, I've watched so many races that do an inverted grid. And maybe it's just the top 10 drivers that they invert. But in many cases, it leads to the big one, usually on lap 1. I look back at a couple of races I've watched at Watkins Glen, where the drivers, they don't make it through the S's the very first time, because the drivers that are sitting 10th back in the field are trying to make their way up up to the lead before they ever get to the bus stop. But we've seen here where the drivers, and especially with these very large fields, with these 45, 50, 60 car fields, they have the sense of the long game. They know it's a long race. They know they don't have to get it done on lap 1 or lap 2, and we'll wait it out. Again, you say the cream rises to the top. If it takes 25 laps, so it takes 25 laps to get it done. Our drivers, they're now on lap 40 with only about 8 minutes remaining here in this 75-minute race, and we are starting to see the cream rise to the top.
Yeah, I can see Ellis has pulled out to about a 23-24 second lead here on Meneno and Sturgios. We go back further through the field overall. You have Wilson Brewer. He's kept his 3-second lead. Now it's up to 6 seconds over Dan Tenorio. Of course, Tenorio's got a 3-second lead over Blake Scott. You look down in the AM category, you got Dan Florea over Michael Kulaga. Great battles here all the way up and down through the field. These guys are all just running their own race. Whenever they get up to the front or up to 5th place, they get up to the front.
Here he goes. We're on board right now with John Casey. He is running 12th currently in the AM category. He's got a nice little gap there, but we can see just ahead of him we've got Brewer in the Audi. We've got Kepler sitting back, and Kepler is running 4th, just about to lap John Casey there. Kepler in the number 27 Porsche, just a little bit further back, about a little bit less than 3 seconds in arrears.
Yeah, you'd be surprised just how much fun John's probably having right now, just putting in fast laps, going as fast as he can, as we see a battle for 5th here in class. This is going to be between Bridges and Fowler. You can see we were focusing on this battle probably not 20 or 30 minutes ago. Yes. It's incredible to see these guys are still just this close.
Yeah, it's still going on there with Bridges, with Fowler, and I think that's Errol Yerksoy sitting right back behind them. In the number 13 Lamborghini, flashing his lights, trying to do anything at this point with just about 6 minutes remaining, anything he can to distract the drivers ahead of him. But great battle here now just off the podium. This is the battle for 5th in class. Oh, and running wide to the hairpin. Oh!
Fowler ended up making a move. Ooh, a little bit. Oh, man, this is very sketchy.
Yeah, came back over, got a horrible exit out of the hairpin, came back over, almost impacted.
Oh, almost hits the wall there. They're serpentining all over the straightaway.
Wow. You hear about making one move. I think we just saw the Lamborghini of Yerksoy make, I don't know, about 4 moves.
At the very least, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
And
just
look at this,
incredible stuff there.
sitting right back behind it all is Alex Ellis, our leader, our overall leader, trying to make his way through.
I could
And I
tell
think,
he wants absolutely none of
yeah,
what was going on there. Houston almost put himself in the wall making
yeah.
that move. And of
And I
course,
was just saying, at this point, Ellis, he's got about a 23-second advantage over the rest of the pro field over Meneno and Sturgios. And if I were him, I would just be sitting back.
yeah, we're coasting.
I
We're
don't want
not
anything to
going
do
to
with
try
this.
to make any sort of moves. We're going to watch your Tyler Campbell going into turn one.
And remember, Campbell at one point was leading in the Pro-Am category.
Ooh, just gets a little bit off there, puts his right sides in the grass, and just barely spins the car out. Riding along now with Matthew Alves here.
And Alves in the number 87, and he goes around. Oh,
Ooh,
and
that's a hard lick.
Yeah, that's a hard hit off the Armco, and it looks like his day is now done.
Yeah, at that point, you probably got enough steering damage and radiator damage. At that point, probably just retire the car, because if you can make any sort of laps, your lap time is just going to be terrible and you'll be in the way. And as much as you want to finish your race, every single other competitor in the field is going to be cussing you out because you can't get out of the way fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go back to, let's see, do we have live action? No, this is this another replay here? It appears to be. And this was Jay Steffi. We saw that battle with Kulaga. And let's see, can Steffi in the number 49 machine get around the number 66? Let's follow along as they came out of the hairpin. Well, I don't think we're ever going to see, I don't think we're going to get the answer to that one.
Nope, not for the moment.
All right, well, we're going to jump back here to the action. This is the battle now for second overall. This is PJ Sturgios and Dave Meneno. Well, actually, we're going to jump away from that for a moment and look at this side by side with Steffi and Kulaga now coming down into the hairpin and getting around Eric Kulaga is Jay Steffi in the 49 Porsche. Took him about 3 laps, but it looks like he got the move done. He is now running in second in the AM category.
Again, Greg, it's that patience we talked about. You know, you can catch a guy. It's one thing to catch him. It's another to pass him. Jay understands that. He's going to take as long as he needs to get around him. You can see he made the move just in time. We got barely a couple minutes left in the session. That was all he needed to do to try cement his second place run here. Hopefully he can make something happen. But of course, Dan Floria in first place in the AM category, he's been putting together a great race. He got a pretty sizable lead here. So they're just looking to try to finish out the rest of this thing.
All right, and as I'm taking a look up at the pro category, it looks like Harry Wills just brought his car into the pit lane for his 3rd pit stop, so he may have had some damage. Or, I mean, there's also the possibility that based on the number of incident points he's picked up, he may have had to do a drive-through as well. If you pick up 25 incident points, you get a drive-through. If you pick up 30, you get DQ'd. Here as we're taking a look at the 26 machine of Sean Campbell and his McLaren. Looks like he had some issues there on one of what it will be probably the 2nd or 3rd, the last lap for him. As we now jump on over, this is Matthew Plaisance, and I believe, is this Soska that's with him? I think it's Soska, and yeah,
side by side here into the last chicane. We're going to see who breaks first and who takes the position away. This is when it gets really, really hairy coming down to the end of it.
All right. Oh, and cutting right across the nose is the number 12 of Plaisance. He gets around Ken Soska, so now move Plaisance up to 9th. Move Soska into 10th. And sitting just a little bit further back, I believe that's Drew Neubauer as well, who is starting to close things down as we're now under a minute remaining here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Our leader is Alex Ellis. He's got well, you know, we haven't checked in on him lately if he's still dealing with that Pro-Am battle. But in the meantime, let's take a look here. We've got Dave Meneno and PJ Sturgios. This is the battle for second in pro and overall. And Meneno still manages to hold Sturgios off and perhaps has the largest advantage that he's had over Sturgios in a number of laps. Has opened up maybe about maybe 4 car lengths here as we jump back over we were watching that battle with Soska and Plaisance, and look at that, the number 7 car, Soska, he goes off. That was, what was that? That was coming out of 4, I think it was. And
yeah, I believe that was turn 4 and 5, just before this long backstretch here.
Yeah, and gets the car back underway. But now let's jump over. We're going to jump back to real live action here to Alex Ellis in the number 1, appropriately enough, Porsche 911, the satellite racing car. He is on his very last lap, and as he now makes his way through and very safely there through the kink and starts to make the run down towards the hairpin. Only a few more corners for Alex Ellis at the moment. He has a 23-second advantage, and you can see indeed he did manage to get around Tenorio, Blake Scott, Andrew Hewson as well. Finally managed to work his way through, but I'll tell you, right back behind him, I think we've got that battle with Tenorio and Scott for second going on in the Pro-Am category, as Alex Ellis only 2 more corners remaining as he now comes through and past the wall of champions, and my, was he close. And does he, he almost loops the car on the very last lap as he finally comes all the way down the front straight and crosses the finish line. Alex Ellis is your winner. Let's take a look now as Dave Meneno, he is coming down into 13 and 14, the last 2 turns. Can Sturgios make a last gasp run as they come onto the front straight? Don't think he's going to get it done. Meneno is going to finish second. Sturgios is going to finish in third. And now we are on board. Let's take a look here. I think for a moment there, we were watching Wilson Brewer, who was our leader in the Pro-Am category, as he now is coming down and running through the kink. He's only got a couple corners remaining. He's got a little bit of traffic up ahead of him, but Brewer, likewise, he's got a 10-second advantage on Dan Tenorio, currently running second in the Pro-Am. And he just needs to keep his head down, and he should be able to come away as our Pro-Am leader. And then checking in with our let's take
in
a look
the AM category, Dan Floria just ended up crossing the finish line, so these guys are a bit staggered in the end of the race, but just an update on Dan. He just took home the checkered flag in the AM category.
There you go. So Dan Floria takes the win in the AM category. Margin of victory about 9 seconds over Jay Steffi, as we're on board with Eric Kulaga running in third. Actually, that is Steffi and Kulaga, I think, who now have all taken the checkered as well. So why don't we go and we'll try and run down the top 10 here in each class, if we can get that up. Well, we'll take a look. Actually, I can read them out here, as we've got Alex Ellis taking the win, Dave Meneno finishing second, PJ Sturgios third, Sean Campbell fourth, Harry Wills will finish fifth, Sean Ryan sixth, Ryan Kaprowski seventh, James Pierce, Justin Bruner will finish 8th and 9th in the Pro category. If we take a look at Pro-Am, there we go. There's the Pro category. I got it right. You can look at those margins. It's such a surprise to see how stretched out they were there towards the end, as both Meneno and Sturgios had almost a 12-second gap back to Sean Campbell in fourth. So let's take a look at the Pro-Am, where Wilson Brewer comes home your winner in the number 62 Audi, the say that 10 times real fast. I can't. It's the Riddle Rocket Racing Gold Audi of Wilson Brewer. Dan Tenorio in his Twisted Racing machine. The Lamborghini finishes second. His teammate Andrew Hewson will come home in third. Then we've got Blake Scott in his Lamborghini, the Scott Racing Machine, finishing in fourth. Frederick Lavoie finishing in fifth, and Cooper, Campbell, Kulaga, Smith, and Brent Bravata finishing in 10th. And then let's take a look at that huge AM category, where Dan Floria in his McLaren comes home the winner with a 9-second advantage over Jay Steffi. But you can see how close things were at the end there. Only 0.2 of a second separating Steffi from Kulaga. Then finishing in fourth, was the number 27 Lamborghini, the team premium machine of Travis Kepler, with Michael Fowler and Errol Yeriksoy, the two teammates, the two Race Anywhere entries, finishing 5th and 6th. Then Jason Bridges, Jerry Forkolb, Matthew Plaisance, and Ken Soska rounding out the top 10. All right, so let's take a look here, and I think we have some folks that are ready to talk to us, Austin. Tell you what, why don't we bring in, we're going to start off here with our winner in the AM category, driver of the number 20 McLaren, Dan Florio.
Hey Dan, great job today in the Pro-Am category. Tell us a little bit about your race there.
Yeah, I think I did pretty good. I didn't make too many mistakes. I had a couple in the Wall of Champions. I had a couple slowdowns on that, but I was able to catch back up, and it looks like I think we lost a lot of people in the back, in the leaders. So I was lucky to get ahead of everybody.
Yeah, for sure. One thing, walk me through there, when you do end up making a mistake in the Wall of Champions, how do you try and, make sure you try to minimize the mistake to try and make sure that you can end up maximizing your overall speed in terms of race pace?
Well, I'm still just an amateur, but the biggest thing, I stay away from the wall as much as I can. So if I'm going to miss the turn, on my turn in, I kind of gun it straight across the both edges and try to lean more towards the left. So when I do mess up, which obviously I did, you're not going to ruin the whole race. So, yeah.
For sure. I definitely thank you. I'm sure some of your other competitors, hopefully maybe they didn't hear all your secrets there, but definitely appreciate your time. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Just everybody that puts this on. Great broadcast, by the way. And, my wife and kids. Thanks.
Yeah, of course, that was Dan Florio. I'll tell you what, I really like to talk to the overall winner, Alex. I think he drove a great race today.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's bring in Alex Ellis, our winner tonight in the number 1 Hunter Motorsports entry. In the Satellite Racing entry.
Hey, Greg.
Hey there, Alex. Congratulations on the win tonight. And why don't you give us a little rundown on your strategy there? Again, a huge margin of victory there. But I'm sure it was a lot of work to make it look so easy.
Yeah, so actually my first lap tonight, my first lap of this car and track combo ever was tonight at around 7:30. So I was really hustling to try and dial in the setup and just figure everything out as quick as I could. So once I got rolling at the start of the race, I was really pleasantly surprised to see I had really good pace. So at that point, I really just started trying to save my tires, because I knew that in this race, being an hour and 15 minutes, it's not worth taking tires, but if you take too much out of them, it really hurts you at the end. So I was really consciously trying to save tires and just manage my car, make sure I wasn't overdriving to not make any mistakes too. And then towards the end there, once I was in the pit window to make it to the end, I knew I had a nice big lead, and I knew that if a safety car came out, I would lose that lead. So I pitted as early as I could to cover that off. And then it was just about managing traffic and putting in some good laps and really having fun with it. So it felt really, really good.
Yeah, matter of fact, we were commenting after you came out for that second pit stop that perhaps your time in the pit box was a little bit longer than Dave Meneno or PJ Sturgio's, but obviously, again, with that early stop, you need to make sure that you had enough fuel for the end. So talking about managing traffic, because Austin and I were watching this absolutely amazing battle in the Pro-Am category. It was a battle for second with Tenorio, Houston, Blake Scott, 3 of the Lamborghinis, and with about, maybe 10, 12 minutes remaining, we saw that you came up right on the back of them. And we were wondering, what you were going to do, because, to try and either, with about a 25-second advantage, if you were just going to sit back and try and bide your time until, things opened up, or if you were going to try and force your way through, because it didn't look like they were really concerned with the rest of the world, other than just the 3 of them for quite some time.
Yeah, I remember coming up on the back straight and seeing them all moving around quite a bit, and definitely had to think to myself how I wanted to approach it. But when it comes down to it, I really enjoy wheel-to-wheel racing. I really have a lot of fun being aggressive. So I I decided pretty early on that I was just going to send it and go for the moves as quick as I could and clear them as quick as I could, because I find as soon as I start backing off and giving some extra space, that's when mistakes happen.
Yeah.
So it was a good approach, I think, to just make sure I was super aggressive, make it obvious to them that, hey, I'm coming through, and it seemed to work out.
There you go. All right, so Alex, congratulations on your win tonight. Anybody you'd like to thank this evening?
All the guys at VRS Satellite Racing, always helping me jump into a quick car with minimal practice. Harry Wills as well. He's been putting on a great series here, and you guys, the broadcasters. It's really nice to have that kind of production value in the series. It makes it really fun to come out.
Yeah, excellent, and thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and great run tonight to the checkered flag, Alex. And hopefully we'll see you next week when we head down to Florida and head to Sebring. Thanks so much. That was Alex Willis, your winner tonight. So who do we want to bring in next, Austin? We've got some choices here, and I think you've picked our band.
Yeah, I picked Wilson Brewer here. Wilson, first off, fantastic job tonight. Just if you could please walk me through your race and kind of what you had to do in order to bring home the win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for the congratulations. It's nice to finally get the first win here. Started out about middle of the pack. I think P4, P5 I started, and the goal there was just to stick with the pack, stay in the draft because it's really essential. And went into the race, actually. My setup had maximum wing, so I was losing time to cars in front of me when I was in their draft. So I couldn't make any moves on the back straight. So I knew that keeping a draft would be essential for minimal time loss, and then just working my way through the back part of the track, all the tight sections to get the time back up and try and pull some strategy in there too. But at the end of the day, this track is crazy. It's really just like a race for survival. So I just tried to keep it clean as best I could, and make the moves where my car had pace, and it worked out.
Yeah, we saw you getting a couple different battles there, going wheel to wheel with some of your competitors. What are you doing in that situation to make sure that you give them enough space, but you also take the amount of space that you need in order, like you said, come out on top?
Well, I'm really looking at I learned a lot from my last race. I had contact at Road America, but here, I'm looking at my front wheel, their rear wheel, who has the corner? Do I need to give them more space, less space? And if I've been sitting behind them for a few laps, I'll kind of look at their driving style, where they're going wide, where they're not, what kind of lines they're taking. And so I can adjust how much space I need to give based on the driver in front of me. And then it's also, how high the stakes are. If there's a lot of traffic behind, or there's a lot of guys catching up behind, I need to get past the guy in front. I'll make a little bit more of a risky move compared if it's just we're both running in clean air, free from the rest of the pack behind.
Gotcha. Definitely a great strategy there. I can tell you've thought a lot about it and making moves, and certainly, like you said, learn your lesson from Road America last race. Is there anyone you want to thank for helping to get you on the top step of the podium tonight?
I think my teammate. We usually practice together, and it's good to keep us motivated. And I also want to thank one of my friends named Brian Lockwood. He's been really instrumental in helping me get some pace here. Just want to say thanks to those guys.
Cool. Well, Wilson, we really appreciate your time up in the booth here. Again, congratulations on your win. Have a good night, man.
Thank you so much. You guys too.
All right, that was Wilson Brewer, our winner tonight in the Pro-Am category, driver of the number 62 Audi. So, Austin, we've got two folks they've been patiently waiting for us. We've got Dan Tenorio and Dave Meneno. Pick your poison, my friend.
I think we already spoke to Dan, so I think we'll talk to...
That's right, we did.
We'll talk to Dave Meneno next. Dave, great run here tonight. We saw you locked in that really close battle for probably about the last half of the race there with Piggio. Walk us through trying to keep him in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. I got kind of a little unlucky after my second stop. I ended up right behind a couple AMs that were battling that held me up for about half a lap or so. So I knew it'd be really close getting out ahead of him. I was just able to sneak out ahead of him, and then really I think the only chance he had to get me was turn one, just because the BMW absorbs that last corner curb so much better than the McLaren does. So I knew if I could just defend that, then I'd have a pretty good chance. But luckily was able to minimize mistakes and keep on to P2.
Yeah, we saw you guys locked in that last battle where, like you said, you know the BMW was able to handle that curve going into turn one, but you just kind of sent it in there, and I mean, you didn't even slide up into him and pull a slide job. You just gave him all the room he needed in the world, and you were able to make it stick through that first chicane there. Tell us a little bit about those battles, certainly there at the end, and making sure you had the car underneath you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I knew he was right alongside me, but I knew if I could hold him kind of level after the first corner, then I could get a better run onto the second corner. I knew he was just far enough back going into turn 3 that I could kind of brake late and still be able to hold the outside. So, you know, once I was able to do that, I knew I could hold it. But I mean, he definitely was pushing me nonstop. It was definitely tough to keep him behind.
For sure. Well, you know, Dave, is there anyone you want to thank for helping to help you, you know, hold that P2 for as long as you did there and secure that middle step on the podium for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to thank my SRT teammates. Great group of guys. Love racing with them. I would like to thank you guys for the broadcast, and would like to thank Harry and team for putting this league together. I think it's one of the, you know, between the broadcast and the league itself, it's one of the most professional leagues I've ever run. So, you know, really enjoying it.
For sure. Well, Dave, we thank you so much for your time tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Again, congrats on the P2 finish, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Dave Meneno in the number 43 McLaren, finishing second overall tonight. And again, congratulations to him and all of our finishers here this evening. So, Austin, as we start to wrap things up here for the evening, wanted to mention our second title sponsor. We didn't talk about them earlier in the broadcast. That is Sim 3D, offering button boxes, immersion kits, paddle shifter replacements. Sim 3D, very proud to be a title sponsor of the RATC. You can find out more about them at sim-3d.co-uk. And of course, Race Anywhere, our title sponsor. We mentioned them and talked about them earlier. You can find out more about all of the great sim racing products that they offer at raceanywhere.co.uk. So next week, we are going to be heading down to Central Florida. We're going to be heading to Sebring, a number, one of the oldest North American circuits built on a former Army Air Force base. And it is always exciting there. It's enough to rattle your teeth, and you find that the pavement is not nearly as smooth as you see here up in Montreal, and it always makes for some great racing over 17 turns there at Sebring. I know I can't wait, and we will of course be back on air next Wednesday evening at 8:20 p.m. So for everybody here at Absolute Sim Racing, want to thank you for joining us. To find out more about the RATC, you can go to www.worldseriesleagues.co.uk. And for Austin Belke, for Daniel Handover, who's brought all the great camera views and this production here for you tonight on Absolute Sim Racing, I want to thank them, and we'll see you next Wednesday night.